This is AgGrad Live,
We have all of the different segments within the cotton.
the show that explores what it's really like to work in the ag industry,
So making sure that we get policy and regulatory issues
straight from the people who live it every day. Hey, AgGrad Nation. This is Tim Hamrich. I'm one of the founders of AgGrad. We are back for another episode of AgGrad Live. This is the show where we go beyond just job descriptions and job postings to really find out what's it really like to work in these careers in agriculture. We're going to get a behind the scenes look today at someone who is in ag lending and ag banking. If you didn't catch every one of the episodes, I can't believe this is like the 21st or 22nd episode we've done. If you didn't catch all of the first ones, I highly recommend you head over to YouTube and subscribe to AgGrad on YouTube to check those out. It's just I think we're the only AgGrad out there. So AgGrad. Find us on YouTube and subscribe there because all of the previous episodes are uploaded and you can catch all of them there. And also, we're also releasing other Snapchat takeovers and other content that we're creating as well, and important resources there. Anyway, head over to YouTube for that. But today we are going to go behind the scenes in ag lending and ag banking. And we have Tanner Winterhoff on the show. He's the vice president an ag banker, commercial lender at Vision Bank of Iowa. So Tanner, I'm going to bring you on here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is cool. Actually, I don't think I mentioned this to you, Tanner, or anyone else listening yet. But when I came out of school, I had two job offers, and one of them was to go in ag lending, and the other one was to go into grain merchandising. And I agonized over this decision and waited as long as I could, and finally ended up going grain merchandising. So maybe today, after talking to you, I'll realize that I made a huge mistake and I should have gone the other way. But for those out there who don't know, maybe give us a brief introduction of yourself and then an elementary explanation of what an ag lender does.
Sure, you bet. Like you said, Tanner Winterhoff, live in Huxley, Iowa, which is kind of in the central part of the state, just north of Des Moines. Married to my wife, Allie. We have two young daughters. But ag lending, as far as an elementary description, is farmers don't typically have the capital available to put the crops into the ground, finance that type of the business all the way through harvest, and carry those bushels of grain through the sale date without having to borrow a portion of the funds. My job is to meet with those farmers each year or more often to decide whether or not they are credit worthy, and it's an investment the bank would like to make in their operation to lend that money until they have the cash flow to repay it. So we offer operating notes, we offer the ability to purchase pieces of equipment that they don't have the cash on hand for, real estate acquisitions. We help them finance everything that it takes to run a farm if the cash is not readily available.
So you are in the position of working directly with farmers and making decisions about how to lend, how much to lend, when not to lend, that sort of thing, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And now I know you're at the vice president level and you're 12 years into it, and that is definitely something to aspire to for those tuning in. Where might someone coming straight out of college start in ag lending, and what would that job look like as opposed to kind of what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I think probably the easiest way to describe is to share my own story, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a college grad. This is something that you can start prior to completing a college education. So I was very fortunate. I had a good conversation with my dad as a kid and actually got to meet his ag lender because I came from a farming family. So during high school, I took some accounting classes and a couple of business development classes that I enjoyed, and one of those offered an internship. So I started off working 4 hours a week with my dad's banker, doing everything from rolling quarters into a sleeve of $10 to making sure signature cards were signed by customers opening deposit accounts to actually visiting with other farmers. So right away, you can get into an opportunity like that. Obviously, the compensation is very low, but you begin getting experience and you find out whether you want to be on the retail side of banking or you want to be on the lending side of banking. But during college, I worked as a teller. So that's the entry-level position that most individuals get into banking at, is through a teller position. You can also enter in through a loan administrative role, which would be basically an assistant to a lender. So neither of those take a college education to necessarily qualify for. They are very respectable positions if you want to enter into those post-college graduation as well. But those are definitely ways to get into banking. If you've got a 4-year degree in business and finance or accounting or some other type of degree related to banking, you can certainly aspire to enter in at any junior level or assistant vice president level position, whether it be ag lending or credit analyst or business lending. With a degree, it allows you to kind of skip those entry level positions. My story, I am biased. I think that's the way you should do it, because you get to understand and see all sides of the bank. You know, I can sit here and tell my farmer what type of checking account they should be in, because I was in that role at one point in time opening those checking accounts. I know exactly what documents to gather from my farmer because I was in the role where I had to make sure all the documents were in the file. Same thing with the underwriting. I can pretty much now, with my years of experience, be able to give a pretty good idea if a farmer will qualify or if I'll be able to be competitive on rate for him because I have the underwriting background. So,
And tell us what's underwriting exactly for those of us who aren't bankers.
Nope, very very good point. So underwriting is the process of analyzing a farmer's financial position. So the farmer can communicate to us that they have so many bushels of corn, they have so much cash in their checking account, and they own so much equipment or land. And the underwriter takes that, formulates their own calculations and ratios to make sure that they're either lendable or something we should shy away from or redirect a type of a relationship that they have. So underwriting is the back room part of managing a relationship in lending.
Okay. And for you moving up to now the vice president level, was it your underwriting skills? I mean, your ability to determine how to structure loans that kind of facilitates the advancement in your career, or is it something else that you think made you sort of promotable?
So I think it was a good combination of about three things. In banking, communication skills. If you're going to be on a retail or forward-facing position, such as an ag lender or a commercial lender, the ability to communicate with your clients, good or bad. It's just important to make sure to know when payments are coming in, if they're going to be late, what their needs might be in June when this is December type situation. So communication skills was huge. The underwriting background was great because, like I stated, you save yourself and the bank a lot of time if you can make a quick no or yes. That's obviously, the more you can get done in a certain number of hours in a day is going to be beneficial. But I would say thirdly is just my agricultural knowledge. The fact that I grew up on a farrow to finish hog farm with row crops and then married into a fat cattle feedlot operation with row crops, you can talk the talk. But just understanding too that it takes so long to grow a calf to market weight.
Right.
Or the fact that the gestation period is so long in a sow. So being able to have that understanding to communicate with the farmer, his message to your underwriting department, I think is ultimately what was able to, contribute to a little bit of success.
Cool. Okay. And now I know your role has probably been a little bit different every time you've changed positions, but what's your day-to-day look like now? Like, I think a lot of people think of banking and they think going into, an old building and sitting in an office and, it's sounding like kind of a library feel, but tell us what's your day-to-day look like?
Sure. I might be a little different than the others, but I'm quite mobile. Sitting in the office is my least favorite thing to do. My customers I try to go see as often as possible. So my day-to-day would be I'd come into the office first thing in the morning and see if there's any fires to put out that came in overnight. And by fires, I mean correspondence from customers or prospects or any type of relationship that I have saying, hey, I decided that I need to make this purchase. Can you help me finance that? Types of requests that come in overnight. Then I usually go out on appointments, whether it's searching for a new client or servicing an existing one and getting updated information, or one of the most important jobs for an ag lender managing collateral is to do an inspection. I can go out to make sure that the farmer has what they say they have. It's very informal in the way I handle that, but it's definitely a part of the day. And then it comes back to the file work. So ultimately, it seems like I begin the day in the office and end the day in the office, but in between, it's managing a relationship, just having a quality conversation. The end of the day would be the file work, helping the underwriters make sure the numbers are accurate, getting approvals in place, and then ultimately getting the signature on the bottom line to get the deal done.
And do you have to know going into it how to, like, you talked about, like, inspecting collateral, to know what you're looking at, to know what to look for, to know how to value certain ag equipment? I mean, how did you learn all that?
Yeah, so most banks will have a loan policy, and loan policy will be multiple pages long, and it will dictate a lot of the things that you do as a lender. I will be able to go out and look at a herd of cattle and know that they're actually cattle because of my experience. The loan policy is not going to tell me what it is, but the loan policy is going to be able to tell me I can only give them 75% of the value of their cattle and establish the value at how. So the policy is a big Bible, if you want to reference it to something too, a guideline, a handbook that we go by to make sure we stay within the limits put out by the bank that you work for. But other than that, it comes down to years of experience. Good mentors. I had a lot of good leadership as I climbed up through the rankings to know, it's good to have a monthly conversation with your clients, whether you need anything or not. Because then when you actually do need something, it's not an intrusive phone call.
Sure. What about what do you find is your favorite part of working in ag lending, and what's your least favorite?
My favorite part is riding in the combine in the fall. My clients worked all year. They put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, sometimes more tears and blood than you're aware, into growing this crop, and you get to see their facial reaction as they harvest it. You get to see their facial reaction and the proudness in their voice when they have a great yield. I like to argue that it seems like the clients call you to come ride when they're in their best field.
Yeah.
To show you just how they did, which is fine because that's what's really fun.
Right.
And that too, it doesn't just stick to row crop. It's the same thing too. Once a calf crop's on the ground for someone who has a cow-calf operation, or when a brand new hog barn's been built. My favorite aspect is the on-site visits.
Yeah.
The actual relationship, the communication that I have with the farmers themselves. Obviously, the least favorite, which I could spin into being a favorite as well, is when you have to tell them no.
Yep.
It used to be hard, but I've spun a lot of the relationships that I have into just that, to where they understand it as a trusted advice. They're actually sometimes extremely thankful for the no, so then it doesn't become so bad anymore. But ultimately, I think that would probably be the least favorite part of the job, that outside of the days that I don't get out.
Yeah. Get feeling stuffy. Now, when you have to tell them no, is that a case where they're coming in wanting money to expand their operation, and it's just too risky based on their current financial situation?
Correct. A lot of times it has to do with expansion.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has to do with asset improvement. They're wanting to trade a tractor for another tractor, wanting to upgrade a combine for another combine, and at this time their cash flow just doesn't facilitate that. But the no comes all across the board. Sometimes it's, I want to branch out into a different type of livestock, but I don't have any experience with it.
Yeah.
Then it just comes down to answers. Is there a more efficient way to increase your cash flow, or is there a more efficient way to achieve the goal that you're putting out? But no comes from a lot of different situations.
Okay. Hey, if somebody's watching and they are getting ready to graduate college, let's say this spring, and they want to go into this business, what sort of inside tips could you give them as far as what hiring managers are looking for ag lending positions?
I think an ag lending position, and actually there's going to be an extreme demand in ag lending, if not now, but the near future too. A lot of the ag lenders that are in place are definitely retirement age or approaching that. It's kind of trends with the farmers themselves. If you pay attention to the age of the average farmer, the age of the ag banker is about the same. But my advice would be is brush up on your general agricultural knowledge. A good hiring manager for an ag lender position is going to want to know the difference between a gilt and a barrow, a female and a male pig. You need to be able to determine that as an ag lender, because it may be your collateral someday. The ultimate role of a bank is to invest their money in a successful operation in which they can get it back with a rate of return. Part of that is monitoring that the collateral is in place. So I'd just make sure that you have an agricultural knowledge. If you didn't grow up in it, do some brushing up. But two, then work on your communication skills. I made that point earlier, and I think it's very important because whether it's inner office politics, whether it's communicating to your underwriter, to your loan assistant, to the customer, just the sheer fact of answering phone calls when they come in. I spend almost 2/3 of my day, if not more, emails, phone calls, and what I call hand-to-hand comment of face-to-face conversation. Outside of that, if you get to know a couple of key financial ratios, a current ratio, a leverage position, and a debt service coverage ratio, those all sound foreign, I know, but you can Google them if you want. If you're a finance degree, those should all be in your back pocket anyway. So the advice that I have is be yourself, because if you're qualified for this position, it's going to show through.
Cool. Yeah, look those ratios up on YouTube right after you subscribe to AgGrad on YouTube. All right. Well, before I let you go, Tanner, I do want to ask about this Ames Ag Summit. If I understand correctly, you were one of the founders of this event, and tell us a little bit about it.
You bet. So I ended up partnering with a crop insurance agent in Ames. Actually, we're one door apart as far as businesses go. We both felt that there was a void. There's a lot of summits, annual meetings put on for growers and farmers alike, but every single one of them is sponsored by the head company. They want to sell you their seed. They want to sell you their product.
Right.
I do a lot of research because I'm a curious person by nature, and I like to make suggestions to my farmers. The tough part is through a lender liability potential issue in banking, I can't force them to make a decision. I can make a suggestion. So it started off with us wanting to put experts that we thought conveyed great messages in front of farmers without there being an agenda. It's not an advertisement. It's not selling my loans. It's not selling his crop insurance product. It is truly speakers trying to increase the profitability of each farmer in the area. So we started with 46 people in attendance, and this last year we had over 100. So it's grown quite well, and I think there's an appreciation for it to know that they can come and they're not sitting through a sales pitch.
Right.
You get to hear some of the leading local and national speakers talk about what land values have done, talking about the latest agronomy techniques available for growing a really bumper crop. We had a presentation about aligning your business financially, because farmers should view their farm as a business. And there's always a discussion about commodity prices. And then this year we had one of the hottest points of this last summit was our panel discussion around the farm bill and taxation changes and lobbying efforts as it relates to local and federal legislation. So it continues to grow. We continue to get increased awareness and those that want to participate. Just a quick plug, it'll be December 7th this year. We've already got enough excitement. We set a date and we're ready to do it again, but it didn't come without any effort. It ended up probably being a little bit more effort than I thought, but I'm happy that we get to do it. Happy I get to put my name on it. And it's a lot of fun to get those farmers to leave your meeting at 3:00 in the afternoon and say, I'm glad I came, or this was really valuable. And then I actually had an instance just last week. I had one of my farmers come in and he goes, you know what? That keynote presenter you had, I wanted to practice something that she suggested. What do you think? And that really hit home that the message that's being delivered is actually considered valuable. Yeah,
transferring into actual action.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, Tanner, if somebody wants to reach out and learn more about ag lending from you directly, what's the best way? Are you maybe on Twitter, or what would be the best way?
Sure. Twitter's probably a very good route, at Bankerman50003. So that's basically 5003. That's correct.
I had it queued up.
Awesome. And you can send me an email if you'd like to twinterhoff@gmail.com. It's first initial, last name @gmail.com. Feel free to do that. I'm also on Facebook. The Ag Summit's on Twitter. If you look me up, you ought to be able to find me on a couple of different social media platforms. I'm here to answer questions or provide any type of advice you're looking for.
Great. Well, I'll give one last plug for the YouTube channel. If you weren't able to join us live, you can see other great episodes like this where we pull back the curtain on agricultural careers on our YouTube channel. So just look for AgGrad on YouTube. Tanner, thank you again so much for being on the show.
Not a problem. I'm glad you had me.
Thank you for joining AgGrad Live. Visit aggrad.com. That's AGGRAD. To join the community, create your profile, and learn more about careers in the agriculture industry.